Great.
Thank you very much. Stacy, I'm with Stacy Schulz. Stacy, you've been a flight instructor, you've been a model, you've been you've done it all. So welcome to the show.
Thank you, Bill. Thanks for having me.
Exactly. Now, there's been 3 questions I've been dying to ask you. Question 1.
Shoot.
How long have you been flying?
I've been flying actually since I was 18 years old.
Exactly.
Right out of high school.
Yeah. And so what got you excited about flying, or you're looking for a job, career?
At
right?
the time.
Yeah.
At the time I was looking for the airline.
Question 2.
All right, thank you. Would you like me to finish, or should I keep?
Okay.
My uncle would come home for summers because he was attending the University of North Dakota.
Okay.
And he'd come home in these little Cessnas and land in my grandfather's grass strip in the pasture.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and so we'd get rides when I was 5, and I thought, I really want to do this. So it remained a passion throughout my whole childhood.
Yep. So then you went to school for it.
So I went to school for it.
And what did you have to learn? Did you have to learn like school book stuff, or did you just learn how to fly, or what did they teach you?
I actually started out at the university, and since I wasn't very serious about my books, I just wanted to do the flying portion, and that doesn't really work that way at the university.
Okay.
So I ended up stopping that and going into the military.
Question 2.
For 4
What branch of the military did you go in?
I went into the U.S. Navy.
Oh, okay.
And I went in under...
Wait a minute. Time out.
Time out.
It's Navy. Oh, yeah, they got airplanes. Okay, continue.
They do have airplanes.
Yeah.
So I went in under the aviation billet, which would have been my aviation job and training.
Okay.
About midway through, they talked me out of that somehow, and I ended up doing a whole different job, which was work in a valve shop.
Okay.
But at the end of my military career, I was able to get the GI Bill, and I got out of the military and used that toward my flying on the outside.
Question 3. Tell us about flight instructing. Because you're doing that now, right?
Flight instructing. I started my flight instructing initially out of school, teaching ground school.
Okay.
So it's basically, flying where you teach a classroom setting 2 nights a week, 6 to 9, and I taught the private and the commercial section.
Okay.
And now I'm attached to a flight school.
Tell me about the green system on an Airbus A320.
I don't remember.
I'm serious.
I don't remember.
So tell us.
It's all hydraulics.
Well, I know, but tell them about what we did, with the whole DC-9 thing. Audience is interested.
So we did some training at, we could say, Northwest Airlines at the time.
Yep.
And I was interviewing for a position there, to be an instructor. And so I needed to go in and learn the whole green system on the A320
And the A320 is a big jet, right?
The A320 is a very, very large jet.
Okay.
And so this was just a small portion of, let's say, that system, which is many redundant systems on that aircraft.
Okay. So you had to learn the system and then then you had to explain it as if you were instructing, because then Northwest could then evaluate you as an instructor. Is that why?
Exactly.
Okay.
They were looking more at my instructing skills than, let's say, my expertise.
Okay.
Which is understandable. That's a position I would have held there. So
you got to do a little flying.
I got to do a little flying as well. I trained in the DC-9 simulator and actually took off and managed to clear the tower and not crash.
Yeah, so I was playing the second person in the cockpit, the first officer. So this young lady was able to take off an Airbus A320. We were flying out of Milwaukee, right?
Yes.
And took off just as if, because I used to fly in the DC-9 a lot in the back, and it felt just like a normal takeoff. We would turn around, come back and land, and she landed it just like a pro. So it was very fun.
It was intimidating, but once I think you get your bearings with the depth perception and the handling.
So is there a big difference between flying like a little Cessna and the Airbus?
No, it's the same.
Because everyone is going to say, is there anybody who knows how to fly an airplane? Both pilots are disabled,
I'm waiting for that.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for that day when the pilot tips over.
Exactly. Because then you could walk up
I'm
and sit in the left seat.
scoot in there,
and,
and we're done.
Yeah. Because basically, you know where the key is,
Yeah.
right?
And we're going to go to the Caribbean.
Yeah.
We're not.
Well, that would be fun. Okay, no, but seriously, you did a beautiful job landing it, and so that was actually part of the interview, right? You had to actually fly the DC-9.
Yes.
Which is pretty bizarre, coming from Cessnas and Pipers and stuff to saying, okay, well, now you're going to have to teach a hydraulic system and fly a DC-9.
It's much more complex, and but once you have the systems down and you've got a grasp on things, it's almost like, okay, this, and you start adding on to your training and your knowledge.
Right.
It seems like it falls into place.
So, okay, so let's just recap everything. So, went to the University of, what was it?
North Dakota.
North Dakota. Yeah. And, and then didn't like that so much. And then went to the Navy.
Yes.
No. Yes.
Went in the Navy.
And then went to the Florida school.
I went down to an accelerated program down in Florida.
Okay.
Called I was owned by Comair Aviation Academy.
Okay.
Which is owned by Delta Airlines.
Okay.
And it's an accelerated program, which means that they basically have to shove people through at a certain amount of time for accreditation.
Okay.
It's not for everybody, I would say.
So you'd have to be a full-time student then, right?
You would have to be a full-time student, and they really don't condone if you have a job and so forth. You fly 7 days a week. You could fly 3 times in one day.
Wow.
And it gets a little arduous.
So how many hours does it take to get a license? Like, so if you were starting out to get a private license on average, how long does that take then?
Private license, the requirements are right around 40 hours. Now, if you were falling within, there are different regulations that some say, let's say 141 is 35 hours, I believe, near a set curriculum.
So you were in the 141 school?
I was in the 141 school because I was using my GI money.
And that was a full-time, so it was really concentrated?
Very concentrated.
So you could get done in a less amount of time then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. A little bit less, but using the program I went through, I had to remain on a regimen syllabus per se and get through that program, and I could not swap up different sections of my training. Like I couldn't do my private and then my commercial. I had to keep it private,
Okay.
an instrument, then commercial. They're a very set plan for
Okay.
you.
Okay.
So I did it that way.
And now you're at the local school?
I'm at a local school here just down the street at Noka Blaine Airport.
Okay.
They are set up for, I believe, a flight school, a little bit of 135, which would be like small charter operation.
Okay. So if you wanted to fly someplace, you could hire them to take you someplace as if it was a private jet. But
Exactly.
But it's not a private jet though, right?
It's not a private jet. I believe they're using Cirrus aircraft.
And what's a Cirrus?
Cirrus aircraft is, you've probably seen it on the news quite a bit as of recent. They are manufactured here in Minnesota, Duluth, Minnesota.
Okay.
Single engine airplane, however, they're a little more advanced as far as systems and radios and so forth. They have a glass cockpit, what they call a glass cockpit, which is basically computer screens you're looking at. So you would get a ride in one of those, and
So it's pretty nice on the inside. It's like really
it's
nice.
very nice on the inside.
Okay.
It's almost like from
But-
the trainer airplanes to that, it would be like going to a Cadillac or a high-end car.
But how high can you go in those? You know, is it like the jets up at like 35,000 feet or?
No, you would not be at 35,000 feet because
Okay.
we don't have pressurized system on that aircraft.
Okay.
So you'd be lower, but you're a little faster. It's a little sleek airplane, kind of fun.
Okay.
And the big selling point for them is their parachute.
You have a
So
parachute?
there's a parachute in that airplane, and
Really?
I'm not an expert on that. However, if you were going down, losing your engine and so forth, you could actually pull this lever that's right between you and the co-pilot, or the guy in the front,
Okay.
and a parachute deploys. It's supposed to maybe
Wow.
lessen the blow
Okay.
when you hit.
So if stuff was really going wrong, you're in the clouds, having a heart
Exactly.
attack or whatever, you could pull on the thing and
Exactly.
the plane would land safely.
Yes.
Well, that's really cool.
Yes.
So it's a very safe airplane, it's fast, nice ride. So that's pretty cool. So they got, okay, so that's the charter. What else do they have there?
Actually, they have a pretty big mechanic shop, so people can bring their planes to them. Anyone that owns an airplane, say if you own 2 airplanes, I understand, you could bring your airplane over there and get the normal inspections that are required of aircraft, or
So you have to inspect them?
There are a number of inspections that go on with airplanes.
Okay.
And one is the main one, I would say one of the larger ones is called an annual.
Okay.
And it would be kind of a shakedown of the airplane, checking out the systems, the airframe.
So all airplanes need to have an annual inspection?
I would believe so, yes. I guess I'm not positive. I'm sure that's a little more stringent at the airline level.
Okay.
But yes,
But
General
sooner or later,
aviation,
something gets inspected.
something's going to get inspected.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Twin Cities does that.
And Twin Cities does do that, yes.
Okay.
They're very astute about their work and very good.
What other kinds of planes do they have besides Cirrus?
They have the Cirrus, I believe 3 airplane, and then they have an Arrow, which is an airplane you would use to get your complex rating. And your complex,
Got a complex rating. What's a complex rating?
the complex rating is getting airtime in a plane that has retractable gear and controllable pitch prop.
Okay.
And so when you first start out, you're going to get your private in an airplane that has fixed gear.
It's not broken?
And exactly, it's fixed and shiny.
Okay.
It just doesn't come up. It doesn't retract.
Oh, okay. So the gear is always, so those wheels are always out.
They're always out.
But on a complex plane, the landing gear goes into a wing or something?
Exactly. It comes up into the body, and it's another step for you when you are coming into land. Something else to think about.
And that's why they call it complex, because it's got more levers and stuff.
Exactly. More on the checklist.
Okay.
Exactly.
So what's a checklist?
Checklists are, you'll find them everywhere in aviation, from personal checklists to the airplane checklist. And the airplane checklist in particular is something you follow
Okay.
from pre-flight, which is when you do your little walk around, check the plane out, make sure you're ready to go,
Okay.
to startup, to run up, checking the engines and all the systems before you're going to go on takeoff, to you're going to follow the checklist basically through everything, and they're in place to help you remember and refresh your memory
Okay.
so that you're not getting too complacent or too comfortable in the airplane and not being, I would say, paying attention to what's going on, what needs to be done at that particular time.